Hey guys, it's Joey. So I watched Don't Worry, Darling today at the theater. I've been talking about it on social media a little bit, talking to my girlfriend and my friend that I went to see the movie with, and we were all surprisingly disappointed in this movie. Didn't really know what to expect. By the way, I'm going to go into spoilers a little bit just because I feel like this movie, I need to talk about it with spoilers attached just because of what's going on, what happens in this movie, or what doesn't happen, I should say. So, spoilers, if you haven't watched the movie yet, or if you don't care about spoilers, please continue. Went into Don't Worry, Darling, knowing about all the drama going on, but I really liked a lot of the early things I saw with this movie. I liked a lot of the early trailers. I liked that Florence Pugh was attached. Chris Pine, two actors I like very much, and I like a lot of their work, especially Florence Pugh, one of my favorite actresses working today. So I was intrigued, and I kind of liked the 50s vibe that the trailers gave off. I liked the mystery vibe that the trailers gave off. Um, and I was ready to see this strange mystery play out that was kind of like Stepford Wives. So then obviously things started ramping up with the drama, with the cast and all the stuff, and Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles. Don't care about that stuff. But the movie itself started, okay. I was into it. I thought, the pacing was okay. They got into the weirdness. It took a little bit longer actually to get into the weird stuff and the mystery. There was a lot of fun, a lot of drinking, hanging out, being, silly and having a good old time until something comes up with the friend. I believe it was Marianne. I think it was Marianne. The friend was going through something. They kind of have iced her out because she was being weird. Inexplicably, the character didn't really explain why she was feeling weird, but also nobody really gave her the time of day to explain why she was being weird. Fine. People get iced out all the time for being weird. I think that's normal in this kind of Stepford Wives kind of situation. But the movie doesn't really evolve further from the weirdness it establishes. Things don't really elevate. There's surreal elements that come to play. Florence Pugh does a really good job of what she had to work with in this movie. She's really good at really enveloping herself in what the character's feeling, what they're going through, and the difficulties they're dealing with. So full credit to Florence Pugh. She did well with what she had. And the movie was technically fantastic. It looked gorgeous. It sounded gorgeous. The world was gorgeous. Sets were gorgeous. Costumes, all that stuff across the board. So props to all the people that, worked in all those departments. This is not a critique of them. They did a fantastic job. The critique is how this film was structured and the writing. And if you guys have watched my videos before, I usually try to find something good about a movie to really cling on to and kind of really talk about the good aspects of the movie. But this one, I think a lot of the good aspects stop like in the technical department. So plot-wise, they were trying to create this mystery, kind of making a point of how women are treated by men, and to a level of misogyny that comes, the innate misogyny in our society, and how men think they could act towards women or, have control over women to a degree. And I think that would have been a really great point to make if they made it well. That message got lost somewhere. They lost the thread at some point. I don't know if they even had the thread. They might have had some cool ideas, and that might have been where they lost that. There's this whole mystique of this victory, very isolated, ideal world that they live in, and they're able to live their lives, and it's beautiful, and everything's just and fair and makes complete sense. And the men go to work in the morning, the women stay home, and the women don't know what the men are doing. And it's, you've seen this model before. It's kind of akin to a lot of the older, kind of 50s TV movies. Again, Stepford Wives kind of thing, where the men just go off to work and the women are home, having a grand old time, doing whatever the heck they want, smoking, drinking, going shopping, exercising, doing all those typical things of that era, until something happens, something weird happens. So there are little threads of mystery that are placed throughout this story, especially things that Florence Pugh's character experiences, a lot of weird physical things. She's like lapsing memory in some parts. That something surreal happens, and then suddenly she wakes up from like a daydream. And there's things with her friend and their friend's kid that disappeared and never came back. So she chased after the kid and you couldn't find him. And they don't really explain that later. I'm going to get into heavy spoiler territory. So going back or going forward a little bit, the whole thing is some kind of simulation created by some kind of cultist podcaster kind of guy who wants to create this ideal society. And it's very akin to 50s nuclear family, housewife, stays home, cleans, cooks, does all this stuff. And it caters to these sad, broken men who want to have control over women that are already in their life or they want to be in their life, which gets into really creepy territory. And again, these ideas would have been interesting if presented and presented thoughtfully in an interesting way, which I don't think it was. I think it was done very half-heartedly, and it's kind of just like, men are just want to control women, and there's no depth to the story. It's just sad guys trying to control women in their lives, and that's pretty much it. There's no greater message to the story. And, I think there is meat there. I think there is substance there. I think it's a conversation we need to have about men in control and control over women. But I don't think they did that here. I don't think it was accomplished. I think it was underserved on their part by underserving the characters, not giving them some parallels to their real life. Because it's, we find out that they're in a simulation, some kind of virtual reality simulation that is paid for by the husbands to have control over these women who they have to take care of their physical bodies. So we're seeing people that are maybe some of the men are with women that they are not with in real life, but they want to be with. And there's like this whole possible other secret society thing going on where they, get these women and, strap up men and feed an IV in them and put these weird little simulation like eyelid things that are very much like a Clockwork Orange, which they don't really get into a lot of the details about how big this victory society is, cult, whatever you want to call it. How much control does it have outside of the actual simulation. Chris Pine's character gets killed by his wife. It's the whole, you die in here, you die in real life thing that we've seen in like The Matrix and all these other sci-fi kind of things that they pulled from. And that's really what this movie feels like to me, or felt like. It felt like this kind of amalgamation of all these sci-fi stories about people controlling other people and putting them in virtual worlds, and people being distressed by themselves being in a virtual world and not really knowing how to navigate that. Some people want to stay in there because it is a dream that they could live out, and some people just feel trapped in it and feel betrayed, which is what Florence Pugh's character felt like, because her boyfriend, played by Harry Styles, was kind of a loser in real life to an extent. He just listened to this podcast about this guy who just wanted perfect society, Chris Pine's character. And I guess they set up some kind of network, and they have technology, which is not really explained how to do this, that they utilize to control women so that they could live in this perfect world. And there's some stuff set up that makes it seem like they're really expanding their efforts. There's like Victory 2 or something or expansion of Victory. So it looks like something they were planning on making even bigger, because these guys can't have a wife that stays home and cooks and cleans, and do everything a housewife in the 50s would have done. Florence Pugh's character is a doctor that has to work several shifts because her boyfriend or husband can't really find a job to make enough money to make ends meet. And instead of, seeing that she loves him and is working hard for them, he just wants her home with him because, he wants to have sex. He wants somebody there, even though she's, killing herself for this guy. And he's just sitting there watching podcasts and shit. The message is there, but it's done in a way where it's so bungled. And it's just no weight is given to a lot of what these characters actually give up, or there's no sense of sacrifice from really any of these characters. I mean, Florence Pugh's character gets pulled in against her will because she's a hardworking surgeon. So it's really bizarre. I wish they had spent more time with these characters. Maybe that would have served a little better. Florence Pugh's character was, of course, really interesting. She, seems like a very successful doctor. Harry Styles' character, Jack, we didn't really know what his job was in the real world. He kind of was, the only time we really saw him, he was kind of on the computer listening to that podcast. I think they should have spent more time with Chris Pine's character and really showing what he was doing in reality, because it would have given more weight to what this really was. Is this just like a rich maniac that's set up like this thing so men can take over? Like, I get it that it's kind of he's kind of almost like a faceless leader of the patriarchy, I guess. I don't even know if I want to give it that much. I don't know. I felt like this movie could have been something more than it was. Felt like a C-rate Black Mirror episode. And again, I don't really like talking about movies like this. I don't like being kind of negative, but I feel like the message was underserved by what this movie ended up being. It was a mystery that wasn't very mysterious at all. If you've seen anything kind of like it before, you could figure it out pretty quick that they're not, everything is not what it seems. They're not in this perfect world. It's very much like The Village, M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, mixed with The Matrix, kind of. But these characters are just, there's no weight. A lot of time is spent having Florence Pugh just see these weird things and deal with this surrealist kind of stuff, which would be great if it tied to something or if it served something else, and it really didn't. It just served to tell you that she wasn't, this wasn't real. This wasn't in reality. She's having these visions of the projector that hypnotizes you so you end up in the world, which I thought was really dumb. I thought maybe, if anything, that dancing would connect her to her reality, and there was, some kind of weight to tether her to the real world and, have her break free. But really, the end of the movie, she just raced to the end, touched her hands on this like little tower thing, and we're assuming got out. But she does that earlier in the film, and then ends up right back in the bed. So you could assume that maybe Harry Styles' character, knocked her out again when she got out, or she just couldn't get out. It's unclear, which is another issue, which doesn't necessarily matter either. But there's just a lot of things in this movie like that, where it's just like, wait, but if that's going to be your resolution, she already did that. She ended up back here. The only reason she doesn't end back here is because she kills Jack, Harry Styles' character. I don't know. It's a little unclear. You're kind of left to kind of put the pieces together. Even though it doesn't really give you a reason to, you're just kind of doing it so you feel like you didn't just waste 2 hours. So I don't know. There might be a good movie in there somewhere, but this is not one I'm super thrilled with. I think Chris Pine and Florence Pugh did great with what they had. I like Nick Kroll. He did a great job too. I mean, he wasn't in it much, but I like Nick Kroll. But I think this movie was just, it could have been so much bigger. I'm curious to see what Shia LaBeouf would have done in that character. He was supposed to be the Harry Styles character. I think he would have added a whole different weight to the character, maybe an anger and like a sadness that Harry Styles just couldn't get to. Um, there's just a lot of things that this movie was lacking, and it felt like kind of a mess. Again, visually stunning, technically stunning. The plot was just so messy, and there wasn't any connective tissue, and the surrealist stuff doesn't tie it into anything. If you're trying to do that, the reason I like David Lynch a lot is because even if it seems disjointed, there's always a reason for it, whether it be a feeling or if it connects to a greater theme. And I think that's something he does well, and he's seasoned at it, and he's been doing it like that his whole career. Olivia Wilde is still early in her career, but this surrealist stuff has to have some tether besides just, a little projection on the ceiling. There has to be something with it besides just feeling weird. Unless that's what you're going for. Maybe that's what she was going for, but I just don't think it was enough. I'm just going to end it there. Let me know what you guys thought of Don't Worry, Darling. Did you actually really like it? Let me know what you really liked about it. I'm open. I'm all ears to hearing other people's perspective on the movie. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Give this video a like if you liked it. And stay tuned for the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Don't worry, darling.